You are Locked On Tigers Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Detroit on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, how about that for a nice little bounce back win for the Detroit Tigers? They blow it open late 8-2 over the Chicago Cubs. Back in the win column. Welcome into a live Locked On Tigers postcast. I am your host, Jake Rietma. You can follow me on Twitter at Jake_Rietma. And as always, fired up to be with you, but more fired up when we've got a victory to talk about. That's right. The Tigers played some sound baseball, really from start to finish. A couple of mishaps here to get into, which we will, but a big win for the Tigers as they blow it open late. We'll discuss that. Big nights for Parker Meadows and Riley Greene. And this pitching staff just continues to roll. But before we go any further, a sincere thank you from the bottom of my heart for making Locked On Tigers postcast your first listen following the final out. Even more fun when it's a victory like tonight. Hey, we're available free and wherever you get your podcasts on YouTube. It's all part of Locked On Sports Detroit, which is all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team each and every day. And for those that haven't subscribed yet, what the heck are you waiting for? And for those that have, I sincerely appreciate it. But Locked On Sports Detroit, that is your destination for all things Tigers and Lions and Pistons postcast. That's right. Big shout out to my guy, Matt Derry. I caught Locked On Lions today, and I know his audience is live and ready to go for the Lions season, and appreciate all of those that follow Locked On Lions, Locked On Tigers, and Locked On Pistons for joining us here on Locked On Sports Detroit. And hey, today's show, it's made possible by PrizePicks. That's right. Locked On Tigers postcast is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. All you have to do is go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code, all lowercase, LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's Locked On MLB for that first deposit match up to $100. As always, we got a lot of people joining us on the live YouTube stream, and for that, we thank you. But a big one tonight for the Tigers, who all of a sudden, don't look now, are playing some really good baseball. 8-2 winners today. It was close throughout. The two-run homers in the second inning for the Tigers. And kudos are in order for Trey Sweeney. That's right. First career home run, and it was a little anticlimactic, which I'll also, I always insist on full transparency. You know that. I like to switch things up from time to time. So I was listening to the radio broadcast tonight instead of the TV broadcast. Not just a little switch up. I like to hear Dan Dickerson with Bobby Skills tonight and get his perspective on it. And with the way that Sweeney's home run went to center field, he wasn't sure if it wasn't that no doubt about home run. So he didn't really get that first true trot around the bases for his first career home run. But hey, what a memorable place to hit your first career home run, the historic, iconic Wrigley Field. So shout out to him. And then Riley Greene back in a big way. Now listen, I said this last night, he just hadn't looked himself since coming back from the injured list, but a 3 RBI night tonight for Riley Greene. Had that 2-run homer in the second part of that 4-run second inning. 2 more hits tonight, 3 RBI, one of them being a home run for Riley Greene. And you feel like, okay, now it's a good night for his confidence, and it's his 18th home run of the year. You feel really good about that, and it gave the Tigers a 4-0 lead. We know it wasn't the best night in the field defensively for Jace Young. That's the one negative we'll point to tonight. 2 errors from him, and the Cubs scored the 2 runs in the fifth inning. My apologies on that home run by Bethancourt to left. He just tucked it inside the foul pole there. But that made it 4-2, and then that's when the bats woke up for the Tigers late in that 4-run 9th inning. Kerry Carpenter with a home run. Man, has he looked good since coming off the injured list. His 12th home run of the season, all part of that 4-run ninth inning. So all in all, just a really good night for Tigers baseball. Good to get back into the win column. Good to see the bullpen have another fantastic day. And my goodness, Dan Dickerson was talking about this on the broadcast. The bullpen has just been so good. And just the Tigers pitching staff as a whole. And we talked about yesterday, they're first in a number of stats since August 3rd. But overall for the season, this is a top 5 pitching staff. And Reese Olson made a bullpen threw pitches off the mound is what I'm trying to say today. And, maybe he makes his way back before the end of the season and you start to feel really, really good about this rotation. But tonight it was Beau Brieske with 2 innings. What a nice job by him opening up. And then Herter with 3 2/3. He actually gets the win, his first win of the season. So first big league win for Brant Herter. He's now 1-1 on the season. He went 3 2/3. 3 hits, gave up the 2 earned runs. And then Hannafy and Holton and Joey Wentz, a nice 1-2-3 inning for Joey Wentz in the 9th inning. And they were talking about this on the radio broadcast, a low leverage situation. Yeah, that's where Joey Wentz is going to be pitching. But at the end of the day, he had 3 up and 3 down in that 9th inning to put the win on ice for the Tigers. So lots of good things tonight. And I was talking to a buddy about this. It's interesting the way this team can look so bad and then less than 24 hours later looks so good, and vice versa. It really is a roller coaster ride, which I guess that makes it fun. That's one way to put it, but a much better night tonight for the Tigers. So welcome into the live Locked On Tigers postcast. My name is Jake Riemann. It's always a pleasure to be on the air with you. If you're just joining us, we'll get to some comments here in just a second. We want everyone's voice to be heard. And like I said, a big day for Parker Meadows. I mean, he was stretching singles into doubles, and you look at the box score, 2 more doubles for him tonight. And just a guy that this Tigers team is just so much better when he's in the lineup. And man, he has found his stride in the second half. So another guy to feel really, really good about. 3 more hits today, 2 runs scored. And just a really, really nice night for Parker Meadows, who is playing with so much more confidence. You see it in the body language. And like I said, with Riley Greene coming back from the injured list, and this was the first night since he's been back where he looked like his old self, had the home run and 3 RBI as well. Kerry Carpenter with 2 more hits as well as a home run. And just a really, really productive night all the way throughout this lineup. The only guy, tough night, Jace Young, which we talked about, the 2 errors, and then was 0 for 3 at the plate. Did draw a walk and came around to score at one point in the game. But I think for the youngsters, and they talked about this on the radio broadcast too, there's going to be nights like these. It's not a panic. He can't play third base. And I know that was kind of the knock on him, even up through the development of his time in the minor leagues. Not a great third baseman defensively, but I think it's a pump the brakes situation. And as more sample size prevents itself, more opportunities. He's working with Alex Cora all the time on the infielding, and it's just the game comes faster at the big league level. And I do think he'll be just fine. All right, lots of comments to get into, and I think this is a great place to start. From Zing Dad, hard not to be excited by the young talent on this team. Plus, how about Holton? What a machine. He's awesome. Yeah, that's a great point. And it's probably a knock on me. My bad. I'll be the first to admit it. With how good Holton's been, you just become accustomed to it. You just get used to how good he's been. And I know he pitched in that high leverage situation there, an inning and 2/3, and is just, he struck out 2, didn't give up a run. And when that game was still hanging in the balance, it was Tyler Holton that you can turn to and be that glue piece in the bullpen, which you just love to see all the way. Gareth Ridings is next up. Congrats to Trey Sweeney. Heck yeah. Wow. First career major league home run. You never forget your first. Something to remember for the kid. That's awesome. All right, question here from Billy. Do you know Matt Manning? Maybe do you know when Matt Manning could be back? I don't. And I wouldn't say I've checked out on Matt Manning because I was his biggest fan. I was covering the game. He had 6 innings, part of that combined no-hitter last year. And I just thought, man, he's going to figure it out. He's going to figure it out. He obviously hasn't. But if he does someday, that would be great. Demetrius McNeil, remember the Tigers went 37 innings without a home run. 3 tonight. The drought is over. Another bullpen game coming up tomorrow. Yes. Yep. Another bullpen game tomorrow. But this is one of those crazy things where even though it's not ideal, the Tigers have made it work. I mean, to a large degree, this is as good as they've pitched. And even though it's unconventional, it's a result of, not having the starters, arms ready to go, the injuries, everything else. I think you do have to give AJ Hinch and obviously Chris Fetter a lot of credit for being able to weather the storm and to a large degree, put your best foot forward and be the best pitching staff the Tigers have seen in really some time, especially in the month of August with how good they have been. All right, more comments to get to, which we will. But first, we're going to take a short break. Keep the lights on. You know how we do here at Locked On Sports. So don't go anywhere. Coming right back, we'll talk more about the performance tonight and the way the Tigers were able to even the series and a chance to go for a series win tomorrow. Don't go anywhere. Locked On Tigers postcast back in just a moment. This episode of the Locked On Tigers postcast is brought to you by eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. That's the formula for winning championships, but it's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. And by now I'm talking superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and so much more. So whether you're into power, speed, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time. Just like it seems like the Tigers are guaranteed to win when Tyler Holton pitches. That's right. Or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. So keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. All right, Locked On Tigers postcast cruises along, and a reminder, we will be live on the air for a Locked On Lions postcast after the conclusion of their final preseason game at Ford Field against the Steelers. And we'll be sure to break it down from every angle, just like we'll continue to break down every Tigers game on the postcast. And it all happens on Locked On Sports Detroit on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. The way it works with the audio version is the Locked On Tigers postcast goes on Locked On Tigers, the Locked On Lions postcast goes on the Locked On Lions, and so on and so forth. And obviously, when we get into basketball season, the Locked On Pistons postcast will go to Locked On Pistons. So it's real simple. If you subscribe to Locked On Sports Detroit, set up your notifications, you won't miss a thing. And while you're at it, do me a favor and like the video as well. That helps the YouTube gods and the algorithm machines know that people love Detroit sports. That's right. And hey, we appreciate you making Locked On Tigers postcast your first listen, but don't forget, for your second listen, you got to check out the Locked On MLB podcast. Host Paul Sullivan, aka Sully, is here to provide daily national expertise with his trademark humor to help you get ready for the MLB playoffs here in the dog days of summer. Who knows? Maybe the Tigers could make a little push for that wild card. I kid. But prepare for the Fall Classic with Sully, who has it all covered every single day on Locked On MLB, all available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. And I do think Tyler Holton is another person to talk about. It's like I said, I am guilty of taking him for granted because of how good he has been. And you look at when he came in and and it wasn't as if, he inherited a difficult situation with a runner on and after the error by Jace Young. So 2 runners on, to make sure I've got this pulled up correctly on the play-by-play. 2 runners on, and he comes out and he gets Ian Happ to strike out, and then he gets the fly out. Okay, now you're out of the 7th inning. He goes back out there and pitches in the 8th. And what does he do? He gets the ground out to Suzuki, line out, and strikeout Isaac Paredes. So there you go. 1, 2, 3, 8th inning. And I think somebody said it in the comments. He is just a machine, which I couldn't say it any better myself. And I got to make sure he gets so good where you start taking him for granted. I can't do that because that's not fair, because he has been just that good. All right, some more comments to get into. We'll go back to Born Cool, who says, good to see Greene have a game. Was getting worried about him there for a second. Yeah, I admit I was a little bit worried as well, and I even said that yesterday, but like that, he snapped out of the funk. Let's hope he can continue to do that, because we know he's just too good of a player not to. And for what it's worth, I started him in fantasy baseball tonight because I just felt like he had a breakout coming, and that's me patting myself on the back for starting him in baseball, or on my fantasy baseball team there. Okay, a couple more comments here. YouTube user Riley Greene and Trey Sweeney setting the table for the Tigers tonight. You got it. And I do think there's something to be said, and Dan Dickerson talked about this on the radio broadcast, those early inning home runs after the drought of not hitting home runs just does a lot to the confidence of the rest of the dugout. Not just the guys that had the home runs in Riley Greene and Trey Sweeney, but it's contagious. We always talk about that. There's the buzz in the dugout and a little bit more confidence for each and everybody up there. All right, some other good comments to get into. Darth Twerk, yeah, buddy, there we go. Hannah Banana 90, see what happens when they bench Baez. Instant offense. Amazing game. Love me some Kerry Bonds. I do think Kerry Carpenter is becoming a crowd favorite. And why not? I mean, never, what do they say? We love the long ball, right? And Kerry Carpenter hits bombs. So there you go. Born Cool, interesting comment on the broadcast. I really like Bobby Scales. Love when he gives that "what up, though, Detroit" before the starting lineups. Yep, that's good. I was tuned in for that. And I do, again, I will watch a lot of the TV broadcast. Sometimes I'll have the TV on with just the radio audio, and other times just the TV broadcast. It really just depends. I like to try to consume it all, because we are so blessed in Detroit with some of the best broadcasters in all of baseball and of all time. And I mean, obviously I'm biased, but Dan Dickerson, as good as it gets. We all know about how great Jason Benetti is in his first year calling Tigers games. And you just love to see the way the broadcast brings you so much insight, entertainment, and really we are blessed as Tigers fans. And the fun pregame shows with they were at the spot in Chicago, Al's Beef. There we go. They've had the original beef sandwich, which looked delicious. And as somebody that lived in Chicago for a few years, I've got my Northwestern. There we go. You can see, if for those watching on the YouTube, if you're listening on the audio only, my apologies. But we know I went to Northwestern, and when I was at Northwestern, lived in Chicago. So made my way to Wrigley Field often, and you got to love the charm and character that Wrigley Field has. Now stay away from whatever it's called, U.S. Cellular, Guaranteed Rate, Comiskey Park. Yeah, you want to stay away from the south side of Chicago. We'll just leave it at that. All right, Kevin 81, love these young guys with Kerry and Riley behind them. Yeah, that's a crazy part too, and they talked about that, and we can all agree. I mean, Riley Greene and Kerry Carpenter are the old guys in this lineup. I mean, you go up and down this lineup and you're looking at all these young kids. I mean, it's everywhere. Colt Keith, Jace Young, Parker Meadows, Spencer Torkelson, Zach McKinstry, Trey Sweeney, Jake Rogers. All these guys are just kids out there. So you got to love the production that they're putting up as well. Jugatarian, wish we played the Cubs more. I'm really enjoying these games at Wrigley Field. That's a good point as well. And not to go off on my Chicago tangent again, but it's just a great baseball town. It's a great baseball. It's a great park. Obviously, the history, the iconic ivy on the walls. I mean, there's just so many charming components to Wrigley Field. And I agree. It's visually appealing and aesthetically pleasing in all different ways. and somebody who's gone to way too many games at Wrigley Field, it just never gets old. It's intoxicating. It's really, really good stuff there. All right, we will take a quick break and be back to close this one out, tie a bow on it, and look ahead to a day game tomorrow. That's right. Everybody gets to skip work tomorrow, or at the very least, instead of skipping work, you can watch the Tigers and then tune in to Locked On Tigers postcast while you're at work. So don't go anywhere. That's coming up next on the Locked On Tigers postcast. This episode of the Locked On Tigers postcast is brought to you by PrizePicks. That's right. I love PrizePicks. You love PrizePicks, and it's real simple. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Now, how's it work, Jake? Well, I've been telling you all summer, so you know by now. You simply pick more or less on 2 to 6 players, stat projections, and you watch the winnings roll on in. And not only that, but you can get in on the daily action with your friends. Become part of the PrizePicks community today. You can now win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. So sign up today. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Who doesn't love guaranteed money? I know I do. That's right. We know the NFL season is coming right up. So here's one for you that you might want to write down because it's real easy to win. 1 Caleb Williams passing yard gets you 1 win on PrizePicks every week in September. That's right. Only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. 4 weeks of free W's. Don't miss the deal on PrizePicks because it's gone when September ends. Sorry, I can't help it. I got to sing when September ends. But PrizePicks available in more than 30 states across the country, and that includes California, Texas, and Georgia. You pick more, you pick less. It's that easy. So download the PrizePicks app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on PrizePicks for a deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks, run your game. All right, appreciate everybody staying up late with us tonight. Not too late, not as bad as the West Coast games, but I know the Central Time Zone presents an extra hour that you kind of have to factor in. So 10:15 local time, I believe. No. See, it's 10:15 Chicago time. It's 11:15 local time. Let me see. I'm all over the place with the time zones. Time zones are so confusing. But as I was saying, I appreciate everybody staying up late with us here on the Locked On Tigers postcast. It's always a good time, especially when the Tigers win. So real quick, Tigers get the W tonight, 8-2. They blow it open with 4 runs in the 9th. That included a Kerry Carpenter home run. And you can't forget about the home runs earlier in the game. Trey Sweeney, his first career Major League home run, 414 feet. How about that to make it 2-0? Then Riley Greene homered to make it 4-0. And then the Cubs came back with the 2-run homer from them with themselves. With Bethancourt, his home run traveled 383 feet. And then Riley Greene had a single that scored Zach McKinstry, and then Carpenter, the 3-run bomb. You love to see it. Parker Meadows, Riley Greene, and Kerry Carpenter all scoring. That accounts for your scoring summary for the Tigers to win this one 8-2. Now 62-65, 31-33 on the road. And the Cubs, interestingly enough, 62-65, 3 games below 500, the exact same record as the Tigers. That was one of the things Dan Dickerson talked about on the radio broadcast is these teams are built similar. They have a lot of similar metrics defensively. Pitching numbers are relatively similar. Offensively, they've had times where they've really struggled. And so it just kind of shows you that these two teams are very, very similar in a lot of ways. Now, tomorrow, rubber match, and it will be another opener. And the boys on the broadcast, on the radio broadcast, Dan Dickerson, were speculating that maybe we see Kenta Maeda open tomorrow out of that Tigers bullpen. We will see. but it'll be a day game opportunity to earn that series W, which would be really, really nice because you look at the Tigers schedule and obviously they got the series win over the Yankees, the series win over the Seattle Mariners before that, and are playing some really, really good baseball. And before that, yes, they lost 2-3 to the Giants on the road. And before that, though, they did take the 2-3 from the Seattle Mariners. So it was a 500 West Coast road trip back to take 5 out of 6 at home. And now you split with the Cubs and a chance to win that series tomorrow, which would be really, really good. A couple more comments I think we can wrap up with, because as always, you guys bring your A games to the comments section, which we agree and we appreciate. Tyler Holton, Tigers closer in 2025. I say yes, he certainly has shown enough to at least be in consideration, right? And play himself into that potential role. We know AJ Hinch doesn't believe in closers, but I think if this pattern continues come spring, yes, I think that is certainly a conversation to be had. Rufus, Elgato de Baseball. I did not get to see the game except for the last 2 innings. Did Torque play? If so, did he do well tonight? Yes, he played. It wasn't the 4-hit night by any means, but 0 for 4. He made some plays defensively. I think he's still at the point where he's going to have some inconsistencies, of course. Not ready to bench him after a 0 for 4 night, but it wasn't his best night. And I expect him to be in the lineup tomorrow and have one really good game and one not so good game and see what he can do with it in game number 3. How does that sound? But Tigers Cubs tomorrow afternoon. It'll be a 2:00 start locally here, because 1:00 start in or 2:20 technically, so 1:20 local time. And as for what the Tigers got going, again, chance to take their 3rd consecutive series and really continue that momentum before they stay in Chicago, but the road trip continues then with the White Sox 3 over the weekend. So as always, appreciate you tuning in to Locked On Sports Detroit and making Locked On Tigers Postcast your first listen following the final out. Don't forget to check out Locked On MLB. That's what you got to do. Prepare for the Fall Classic with Sully. He's got it all covered every single day. You can find it all on Locked On MLB. And it's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Make sure you check out Locked On Tigers with Scott Bentley. What a tremendous job he does. Locked On Lions with Matt Derry. Awesome stuff there as we get you set for the Lions' final preseason game. We'll have a Locked On Lions postcast immediately following that as well. And hey, we got fun things going on in Detroit. It's a good time to be a Detroit sports fan. So thanks so much for tuning in. And as always, it's been a pleasure to be with you, and we'll see you next time. Have a wonderful night. Talk to you tomorrow afternoon after Tigers Cubs. Go for the series win. Can they get it done? I say yes. Have a wonderful evening, everyone, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.